Flanagan, power onward. Hey, it's Greg Flanagan. How are you doing this morning? If it's Friday and it's 11 o'clock, guess what? It's Fridays with Flanagan. Every Friday, Eastern Daylight Time, we come on to you live and bring to you some sage advice, some wisdom you never knew, and just my great personal smile, right? So today, 11 o'clock, we're in Charleston. It's a beautiful day out there. It's going to be in the mid 80s. No rain, none forecasted. We appreciate it. We always appreciate the weather here in Charleston. I mean, I do a Friday morning report to all my people, the real estate clients, and you know what? It's like reporting. It's like reporting the weather here in Charleston. Every day is sunny. Right? Every day is sunny. Chance of rain in the afternoon, and that's the way the market's running right now. Every day is the same as yesterday. It's screaming hot in most parts of the country. I know here in Charleston it is. Our numbers are up. We're just starting to see a small tick, very small tick in inventory. And I mean, last month it was 1081. This month it's 1094. How small is that? But when you get down to that 1,000 mark, man, you got to look at those things. I want to say that I'm repping my Holy City shirt today. Charleston Battery, our professional soccer team, goes and plays tonight in New York City with the New York Red Bulls too. Actually over in, I think, Passaic, New Jersey at that stadium. So we're looking forward to that. You can catch them at 7 o'clock on ESPN3 or look around the channels if you're a soccer fan. So how's your week been? Let's see what's happening. Today I'm going to be talking about solar panels. And where does this come from? I think it's a great, I thought the reason I'm doing it, getting away from MREA today, is because it was a learning experience for me. For the last 3 or 4 weeks we've been dealing with solar panels on this one house. The offering was, the house was for sale with a price, and then the buyer had to take over the seller's loan. And it was a loan, it wasn't a lease, and it was what they call a UCC, which is a commercial credit type loan where the actual instrument is placed, the lien is placed on your house. It doesn't say you have anything bad about it, it just says that if the house gets sold, these people will get paid behind your first mortgage, right? It guarantees that they get paid somewhere down the road, or that somebody has to pay them or get rid of the lien. A lot went on with this. We put an addendum in that said the client, I had the buyer had to agree to take over this loan because we weren't sure exactly what the loan were. They didn't disclose that. So I learned a lot, and I'm going to share that with you. I found a Fannie Mae appraising guidelines. So we had the appraiser come in. He appraised the house for the purchase price. The solar panels were on the roof, but because they have a loan on them, the solar panels were not included in the value. And I'm going to walk through today and show you how you can actually have these solar panels and what the difference is. So what do you need to know about solar panels and how they affect value? That's where we're going today. Appraising properties with solar panels. This is the actual guidelines from Fannie Mae. Common ownership or financing includes, where are we? Borrower-owned panels, separately financed solar panels, where the panels serve as collateral for debt distinct from any existing mortgage. So the first one is buyer-owned panels. This is when the buyer, now mind you, these panels cost $45,000 for this house. This is where the buyer actually comes out with cash and says, or maybe a home equity loan, and says, I'm going to buy those panels directly from the company. And they do. And it's just a home equity loan, or it's a cash purchase, just like you would buy a new air conditioner or any other water heater, that type of thing. It's a borrower owned. Okay, that's the ownership of it. Number 2 is separately financed solar panels. The panels are collateral for a debt distinct from any existing mortgage. In other words, especially in this case, it's a commercial loan. If the person that owned the house were current on their mortgage, but they didn't make the payment on the panels, the people who they had the loan with would come in and repossess the panels. Just like a car, it's a distinct, separate collateral. If you don't make your payments on your car, it gets repossessed. The same thing with these solar panels. So that's part of it. This is separate and distinct from your mortgage. Nothing to do with your mortgage. Leasing agreements and power purchase agreements. So the leasing agreements, this is wild. Leasing agreement says the people that own the panels, okay, the manufacturer or the salesperson, goes into a leasing agreement with a third party, and that third party allows you to pay the leasing agreement. The original party has to maintain the panels, and if you go to sell your house and a new buyer doesn't want the panels, the lease can come in, take the panels off the roof, repair your roof, and you can go about your business. That happened to me a couple of years ago. Okay, we actually had panels taken off during a leasing agreement. And I thought that was going to happen this time. It didn't. So the power purchase agreements is pretty much what we were under, and it gives them the power to purchase the agreements anywhere in the time frame to move the note up or down. Our guy put in an extra $15,000 at the time, lowered his payment, but kept the same leasing agreement or same purchase agreement. So specific underwriting criteria for appraisals that include, as I said, this is Fannie Mae guidelines, and the top two sections here, right? If solar panels are, then the appraiser must. So the first one is, if the solar panels are owned, in other words, by cash purchase or a consumer debt not collateralized by the solar panels or debt paid off. So that consumer debt is a personal loan, right? It's a personal loan or a HELOC, home equity loan, right? It's a personal loan. So I can go to the bank or something like Lightstream or some private industry, say, you know what, I need $45,000 to buy these panels, and they can, if my credit is good enough and I can stand by myself, they'll write me a check for $45,000. I'll pay off the people that are selling me the panel, and away I go. If they are outright owned by cash or consumer debt not collateralized by the panels, then the appraiser may include the solar panel value based on standard appraisal requirements. So what they're saying is you got the panels on the roof, and if you own them, it becomes part of the house. They will appraise the panels just like they appraise everything else on your house, right? If they're 20 years old, they're going to give them a little less money. If they're brand new, a little bit more money. So I asked a couple of appraisers, I said, so what is that standard? You know, do they give me 10% of the value of the house? Do they give me 20% of the value of the house? Well, it's not. One person said, normally I do 4% of the purchase price. Well, that's great. So this house is $300,000. That means I'm going to give you $12,000. So he'll jack the price up to $312,000, right? But does that work on an $800,000 house that might not have the same amount of panels on the roof? Or, you know, what's 3% of 8? It's 24,000. Does that work? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I wasn't really sold on that, but in this instant, it actually did work. The other guy said $10,000 per 15 panels. Now that caught my attention. I said, so what you're telling me is, if I got 20 panels on the roof, it's going to cost me 1 3/4 of 10,000 or 17.5. It's going to add 17.5 to my appraisal. He said yes. So you can see it's very subjective of how they actually appraise the property. The same thing could be said about a swimming pool, right? Some people will appraise it at 100%, some will come down to 15%, or somewhere in that vicinity. So again, if they're owned outright, you can include it in the appraisal. Next one, finance panels as fixture to real estate. What's a fixture in real estate? Anything attached to the home that is not personal property. Normally, we think of microwaves that are attached to the walls, fans, lights, those type of products. The appraiser, if it's financed and the panels are a fixture to real estate, may consider the solar panels and the value of the property based on standard appraisal requirements, provided that the panels may not be repossessed for default on the financing terms. This is the difference. So with a UCC lien, they can be repossessed. That's how these people are going to get back their collateral. So the appraiser cannot add these to the value. Okay, so if they're leased, they're not considered a fixture. If they're financed and repossessable, they are not considered a fixture, because the appraiser is going to say, nope, somebody else owns them, somebody else can take them off the house. Where else does this come along? And I haven't seen it do it, but as I thought about it, air conditioning systems right now are getting fairly expensive. And if you have a $10,000 air conditioning that the installer helps you purchase, he's probably going to put a UCC lien on that, on the air conditioner, not on the house, but on the air conditioner that's attached to the house. Again, it makes no sense to me that you can install an air conditioner and still get a mortgage, but you can't install a solar panel and not get a mortgage. So may consider the solar panels and the value of the property, provided that the panels may not be repossessed for default or the financing terms. Okay, any questions on that? So those are two ways that the appraiser can add them to the value of the house. As I said, I talked to two guys. One guy said 4% of the value. Another guy said 10,000 per 15 panels. Talk to your appraiser and find out what they have to say. I'm sure it's going to be something different. So if the solar panels are financed as personal property, they may not provide contributory value of the solar panels towards the appraised value because, again, the panels are collateral for another debt. This goes back to the financing. If they aren't on a UCC, if you just have them as collateral on a personal note with your local credit union, again, they can't add it to the value of the house. How does the appraiser know if these are actually financed or not? They'll ask the agent, they'll ask the homeowner. Normally the homeowner's there during the appraisal simply because it's such a quick deal. They run in and they run out. So they're going to ask questions. They're going to ask you, how are these panels financed? Are they financed? You have to answer them honestly, folks. You can't say, yeah, they're financed. The next one is leased or covered by a power purchase agreement. This may not include the value of the solar panels and the appraised value of the property. Again, if they're leased, financed, collateral for any kind of loan, this is where you're going to come into a problem. Lenders are responsible. What are lenders responsible? Ensuring the appraiser has accurate information about the ownership structure of the solar panels, like we spoke about. They're going to ask questions. And the appraisal appropriately addresses any impact to the property's value. I went round and round with this lender, and it was U.S. Bank. I'm going to tell you right off the bat. and such a big bank, they said they hadn't had a lot of experience with this, so it was new for them too, at least for this underwriter. Were the panels appropriately addressed for this home? I don't think they were. According to U.S. Bank, they were. According to the appraiser, they were. So the lenders are responsible for ensuring that the appraiser has accurate information. The appraiser got his information from the homeowner about the ownership structure. The appraisal appropriately addresses any impact to the value of the property. They had one, I don't believe they had the other. Appraising properties with solar panels, appraisers must compare energy efficient features of the subject property to those of comparable properties in the sales comparison approach adjustment grid. Wow. So I'm not an appraiser. I probably can't speak totally honestly about this, but on the bottom of your appraisal, there's a comparison approach adjustment grid. Okay, and that's where you go across the, if you've ever seen an appraisal, subject 1 and then comp 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? That bottom grid where they're adjusting up and down, that's the comparison approach adjustment grid. So if your house has panels versus your house, the comp house not having panels, you're going to see a plus on the non-paneled house. What we saw was straight across the board, nobody had panels. There wasn't an adjustment up or down because they were leased or they were financed. So be careful about that. If you do get a house with panels, or he's comping something without panels, let's say he's comping a house with panels versus your house without. Your house without should have an adjustment on there. Okay, there should be adjustment. If they have panels and your house doesn't, there should be an adjustment in there. And I'm going to stay with my 4% or go count panels and go at 10,000 per. Appraisers must augment the sales comparison approach in evaluating any impact, either positive or negative, to the value of energy efficiency improvements with either the income or cost approach. Further down the appraisal, there are two different sections. One is the income approach. What kind of rent would this bring? And he values it out that way. And the other is the cost approach. How much is it going to cost me to rebuild this house if it burnt down? And during that cost approach, they usually don't take the land into effect. They'll value the land and just replace the cost. So if the panels are on there and they're appraisable, they will add that to the cost approach and the income approach. Pretty dry stuff. Appraisers cannot adjust the value of the property on a mechanical dollar for dollar basis based on equipment and installation cost, or the discounted present value of expected cost savings of the equipment over the useful life of the equipment. Bottom line, this is what happens. What they're saying there is these panels that this guy put on were $45,000 6 years ago. Okay, they can't say those panels are $45,000. They're going to give this guy $185 in savings a month, and they have a life expectancy of 27.5 years. It's not the way they're going to appraise it, and they can't appraise it on the discounted present value of expected cost savings of the equipment. The guy that placed these on the roof placed them on there for a very specific reason. He had a sick occupant, and they wanted to get cooler. His monthly bills were $240. Well, his payments on this were $210 or $212, and his electricity bill was still running him $40 a month. Do the math. It didn't work out. So the appraisers are not allowed to adjust for that. They can only adjust for the value. Hello. They cannot adjust the value of the property or solely based on the cost or income approach. Same thing we talked about before. If he can't use that, how much they're going to save you valuation on either one of the cost or income approaches. Must analyze the market reaction to the energy efficient feature. What does that mean? It means that he has to look at a house that has the panels versus a house that didn't have the panels. The most similar house, what did it bring when he went to sell that house? What was it worth to the buyer that said, oh look, there's energy efficient solar panels. I'm going to pay an extra X amount of dollars. So I have a 1,000 square foot home and a 1,000 square foot home. This one's got panels on it, this one doesn't. The one without panels sold for $200,000. The one with panels sold for $210,000. Okay, that's the way he's got to mark it up and down. So he's going to take that $10,000, move it over to this guy's house, and they're going to adjust it up and down. So, only way they can do it. So, we go live every Friday at 11 o'clock, as you know, whoever's on here, whoever's watching, and we'd love to have your feedback. To get back to the panels real quick, when you're getting into a deal, make sure you understand, whether it's through due diligence, whether it's through, let me see your loan docs. If somebody says your client's going to pick up the payment, find out what the docs are. This particular company, it was, hey, you're going to transfer whatever the original doc was, whatever the original note was, we're going to just transfer that over to the new buyer. Well, that made no sense to me, because the original guy took out a $45,000 loan at $200 and something. He paid down that loan to where he was making $185 payments per month. And we have an agreement that he's going to pay that even further down by another $9,000, where my guy's going to wind up with an $11,000 note, but he's still going to be paying $185 for 30 years. Well, that doesn't make sense, but that's what they wanted him to sign, so be careful. What should my guy sign? Well, if he's going to sign a 30-year note, he should be signing for $11,000, which would be about a $70 payment. Now we start making sense on savings. If the house is going to cost him $240 a month in electricity, and he's paying $70 for the loan, and he's paying $30 to the Dominican energy company, well, now it makes sense, right? He's got a $100 bill for a $240 product. He's saving $140. So that's where we're going with that. Make sure you know what the loan is. Make sure you know all the details. Give yourself a little extra time to get that all sorted out. You can do it, just adjust for those panels. Personally, I'm going to stay at 4% and adjust up and down. I'm going to find out if they are owned or leased or financed. Make sure you know what it is. Any questions on that? Super. I appreciate you all being here. We've got a class coming up. It's Early Bird Access Disneyland, Turning Your Fantasy into Reality. And what this class is going to do, it's going to take your business, whether you're a brand new agent, a middle agent, even a senior agent, and we're going to come down and take your business and really focus on what your business is. This isn't numbers and, how many dials. No, this is about the culture of your business. What do you want your business to look like over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years or tomorrow? This is about finding out what you, as the owner, right, whether it's a single or a team, what you want to do in your business, where you want to go in your business, who you want to hire in your business, the standards, how you're going to make decisions. So for 6 weeks, every week we're going to meet on a Thursday at 2 o'clock for about an hour. For 6 weeks, at the end of 6 weeks, you're going to have a business plan for your entire business, okay? For your entire business for the rest of your life. At the end of the 6 weeks, you're going to have mind mapped your Disneyland business. I'm going to explain why we call this Disneyland during the first day, and we're going to mind map your Disneyland business. On the second week, we're going to identify your mission, vision, values, beliefs, and perspectives. believe it or not, folks, this helps people to actually stay on track over the years. When you have a base of your, what we call your MVVBP, you're always going to be able to go back and go, that's who we are and that's what we want to follow, because it's who we are. It's who we determine we are. Okay? It's real important to have it. We're going to create an organization chart. Part of the whole mind mapping is taking your entire dream, your fantasy, right? Turning your fantasy business into reality. We're going to take this fantasy. I know a lot of you go, I like real estate, but I really want something bigger. I want something bigger. Maybe I want to go here, there. I want to do, there's something bigger in life. How big is your world? And who can you bring into your world? And that's where we're going to create that organization chart. Who are we bringing into our world? Who do we need to help us, rise the tide, right? Rising tides raise all ships. Excuse me, that's this organization chart we're going to look at in week 3. In week 4, your wall of value. Whether you're a solo agent, building a wall of value for your clients, why hire me? What is my value? What do I can tell you what my value is, and I will in week 4. And it's hard to argue with my value because it's what I value myself at. And you'll find yourself never going back and saying, well, maybe I'll do it for X, or maybe and we're going to talk about your wall of value. If you're a team or you're a solo agent looking to grow, this is very, very, very important to you. Sorry, I got distracted here. Very important to you, because your wall of value tells your team members what you are offering them. Right, so we're gonna go over the wall of value in detail, and we're gonna create a team structure. Greg, I don't want to work with any agents. Well, this is above and beyond agents. This is about taking your team and building a team around you, and help that team helping you rise up. And last but not least, we're going to learn specific hiring guidelines so that you stop making the mistakes. You stop hiring your brothers, sisters, uncles, mothers. Okay. We're gonna teach you specific hiring guidelines to make the whole dream come true. And we're gonna create a business. We're gonna create a future for your business to grow into. It's real important right here. Early access, $197 for Disneyland. We're gonna focus on turning your fantasy business into a reality, and it's a 6-week course. And we're gonna start this second course June 3rd, 2021. At 2 p.m. Where can you sign up? www.growyouриncome.co. I did not leave off the M. That's www.growyouриncome.co. Join up there. It's PayPal. $197. What's $197 in the world of real estate? Practically nothing. One deal, half a deal. Maybe go show a house for somebody. It's pittance. If you were to go and do this with a coach, you'd probably take 6 weeks, minimum $1,200. Every week is $200. Minimum $200 per week. That's $1,200. We're doing it for 10% of that. All right, and we want to help you get to where you need to go. So sign up. Go to growyourincome.co. It begins June 3rd, 2 o'clock. And I think it's one of the best things that you can do. I did it about 5 years ago, I think, and it changed my business, changed my life, changed the outlook of where we're going, and it gave me super clarity. So for less than $200, you can gain that clarity too. All right, it's been a great week. It's Mother's Day. Make sure you go out there, and if you don't have a mother, find one. If you have a mother, visit her, kiss her, hug her. Do whatever COVID allows you to do wherever you are. And I hope you have a great day. All right?